I want to talk to you this morning about you got to use what you have. And through this week at camp, I noticed that a lot of these kids would come to the altars and they were broken and they just opened their hearts up to God. And a lot of them, I know their stories, so I know what's going on in their lives. And man, we have to find ways to make it, right? We have to find ways to make it because we're not all the same. Not everybody is made up the same way. Brooke tells me all the time, Robbie, people aren't like you. They can't just take things. They can't just let things roll off their back. They take things personal. Sometimes people get down when they hear bad things. So we all have to use different things. And man, I grew up in church. I've seen amazing preachers. And by the way, I do want to say, isn't it great to have our senior pastors, Brother Wayne, Uncle Wayne and Aunt Linda is what I call them here. I told Uncle Wayne when he walked in this morning, I said, man, I'm glad you're here. I feel so good when you're here, when I have to speak, because I look at him like 15 times when I'm up here because I just know he's going to be like, amen. But anyway, I grew up in church. I've seen a lot of great preachers in my life. I've seen a lot of great ministers. I've seen some amazing, amazing teachers. Brother Bobby's here. I looked up to Brother Bobby my whole entire life. I always thought, man, if I could teach like Brother Bobby, if I could understand the word like Brother Bobby, I will have done something. Well, I'm not there yet. I probably won't ever be there. And then Sister Sharon and Connie, Sister Connie, my mother-in-law. I've watched so many. My grandma, she would stand up on this stage and sing, I can almost see the end from here. I mean, man, I watched these people and I thought, oh, if I could just get a little bit of what they had. If I could get a little bit of what they have. And I realized that they were all special and they all had something unique about them. And they were all using different tools in their life. They all had to use something. So this morning I want to talk to you about a guy named blind Bartimaeus. And this is a good old Sunday school lesson. But it's a good story. And I was reading it. Some different things jumped out at me in this story. So it's in Mark chapter 10, verse 46. We're going to read it together. And then we'll talk about it. Verse 46 says, and they came to Jericho, and as he was leaving Jericho with his disciples and a great crowd, Bartimaeus, a blind beggar, the son of Timaeus, was sitting by the roadside. When he had heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to cry out and say, Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me. And many around rebuked him, telling him to be silent. But he cried out even more, Son of David, have mercy on me. And Jesus stopped and he said, call him. Or another version said, tell him to come here or bring him. Another version. And they called the blind man, saying to him, take heart, get up. He's calling you. And throwing off his cloak, he sprang up and he came to Jesus. Jesus said to him, what do you want me to do for you? The blind man said to him, Rabbi, let me recover my sight. And Jesus said to him, go your own way. Your faith has made you well. And immediately he recovered his sight, and he followed him on his way. Blind Bartimaeus was a poor, blind beggar. And I don't mean, oh, that poor guy, he's blind. I mean, he had nothing. The guy had nothing. He was poor, and on top of that, he was blind. And back in these days, if you were poor, you were cast out. If you were blind, you were not a part of society. If you were different from the rest of the crowd, you were put outside. You were cast aside. You didn't get a chance to go into the church and pray and be a part of everything like we are today. Just like society does today. Somebody different, most of the time they're cast out. Somebody different, most of the time they're treated different. And this was blind Bartimaeus. He was treated different. He was a beggar. And on this day, he was sitting on the side of the road. He just happened to be on the side of the road. And he was limited to what he could do. You know, he was born, I don't know if he was born blind. It really doesn't say. I assume he was born blind. He was limited to what he could do. So he had to adjust in life. He had to figure out what he could do. What he had to figure out, man, what do I need to do? I could sit here and I could do nothing. And he could have. He could have sat there and felt sorry for himself and done nothing. But instead, he said, I'm going to use some things. So he got him a pot. He went by the side of the road and he begged for money. And he asked for things and he begged. And he did something. He got up and he got out. He sat by the road every day. I believe he probably sat by the road every single day, trying to do something with his life, trying to accomplish something. He did what he had to do. He had to use something. So he got a cup, he put on his cloak every day, and he went to the road and he begged. The title is this: is you got to use what you have. He didn't have much. He had to use something. He was blind. He couldn't see. This is all he knew. Couldn't work. Bible doesn't say anything about family. So he had to use what he had to use what he could find. Because you can't use somebody else's armor. You can't fight in somebody else's armor. David couldn't fight in Saul's armor, could he? Put it on is too big. You're not going to make it on your grandma's prayers. I'm just going to tell you that right now. You're not going to make it on somebody else's songs or somebody else's religions. You can't depend on people your whole life. The prayers are great. I love my thank God for praying grandmas and praying mamas. Thank you so much for that. But when it comes down to the end, it's going to be you and God. And you're going to be the one answering for what you did and your decisions that you've made and the things that you've said. You can't wear somebody else's armor. You can't use somebody else's calling when it comes to this. And this guy couldn't. Blind Bartimaeus would have loved to use somebody else's gifts, but he couldn't. He didn't have anything. So he had to use what he had. And I'm sure the enemy jumped up on his shoulder at times and said, would you just shut up? Would you just sit at your house? Nobody wants you around. You're blind. You're poor. How many times has the enemy told you something like that? You're no good. You've done too much in your past. Nobody's going to listen to you. That church isn't going to accept you. I can't stand it when people tell me I can't come to church, man, I've done too much bad. And I'm like, what? That's what it's there for. That is what the church is here for. It's not for, yeah, it's great that we're full of saved people, but it's here for the ones that need help. Man, the day we start turning around the drug addicts and the lost is the days we're going to need to shut the doors because we're not in it for the right reasons, right? That's what it's here for. That's exactly what it's here for. I can't stand it when people tell me that. It drives me crazy. And so the devil will get on your shoulder and he'll say, you're no good. You're no good. You can't do that. You can't be successful at that. Who's going to listen to you, the bad that you've done? I've faced it. I've done some things, and I'm like, man, that people aren't going to respect me. People aren't going to listen to what I have to say because they know my past. They've known what I've done. And you know the devil was doing this. He was getting on blind Bartimaeus' shoulder. He's saying, shut up. Nobody's going to listen to you. You're a nobody. You're a nobody. But he didn't listen to it. He got up and he got out of his house. And thank God he did, because if he would have never gotten up and went to the side of the road every day, he would have never got what he needed. It would have never happened. If he would have just sat by on the sideline and watched, his life would not have changed. He would not have ever got his sight back. He had to get up and he had to go do something about it. We have to get up and go do something about whatever situation it is you're in. I don't know what it is. I have no idea. But I know we all face some things in life. I know we all go through some things in life. I know we face some hardships. And I know sometimes we think, man, life is not fair. Why does this have to happen to me? But if you sit in it and you stay in it, you don't move forward, you don't get up and go do something and use what you have, you'll never get over it. It will not happen. It just won't happen. And this guy said, I am going to get up and I'm going to do something. So he focused on what he had and he got up. He had to be there that day. If he had slept in that morning, said, hit snooze one more time. How many of y'all hit snooze one more time? Too many. Late for work or whatever. If he would have slept in a little bit more that day, he would have missed it. He would have missed it. He actually, what was interesting to this story is Jesus was not coming for him that day. He was just passing through. He was just passing through town. He was just on his way through. He didn't come for blind Bartimaeus. We read so many stories in the Bible where Jesus went to somebody, directly to somebody, but not this case. He was just passing by that day. He was just coming through, and blind Bartimaeus heard about it. He said, I got to be there. Jesus did not instigate this miracle. This was all him. This was all blind Bartimaeus. He was just passing by. You ever heard somebody say, I'm just waiting on the Lord? When are you gonna go to the doctor and get something for that sickness? I'm waiting on the Lord for my healing. When are you gonna get off those drugs? I'm just waiting on the Lord to deliver me. Well, I have sad news. Sometimes it doesn't work that way. Sometimes you have to go. You have to get up, and you have to move. And you got to go sit by the side of that road, rattling your bucket, trying to make some noise, trying to get Jesus to hear you. Sometimes it's got to be you. But the good thing about it is, he's always passing by. He's always around. That woman with an issue of blood, Jesus didn't touch her, or he didn't come to her. She had to push her way through the crowd, didn't she? She was a small woman. She had to push her way. She had to fight her way to get her healing. She had to. But she knew where to go to get it, right? Lazarus, when Jesus heard Lazarus was sick, did he come to him right then? No. He waited until he was dead. Then he went to him. Sometimes we have to go to him. He doesn't always come to you. But what he does do is he's always passing by. He will always be around. He'll always be in the vicinity when you need him, right? He's never too far away. He's never out of reach. He's always close. He will always be passing by. I can see blind Bartimaeus sitting on the side of the road saying, just reach out and touch the Lord as he goes by. That's terrible, isn't it? You'll find he's not too busy. Now, y'all remember that song? That was going back, wasn't it? I loved that song. We'd sing it. David would sing that for hours, wouldn't he? hours. But I can see blind Bartimaeus over there just waiting for Jesus to come by, just waiting for him to pass by. Because he knew he was coming. He heard he was coming. So he's already using something. He's already using his ears. I can't see you, but I can hear you. I can't see you, God. I can't see you, Jesus, but I hear you're coming. I hear you're on the way. I'm using what I got. I can't see you. How many times have we been in trouble or been in a situation? I'm like, God, where are you at? I can't do this alone. I can't feel you. But you can hear him if you stop and you just listen. If you just stop and listen sometimes. Like Elijah that day whenever he was hiding in that cave. God's voice wasn't in the big storm. It wasn't in all the noise. When everything got quiet and silent and he quit worrying about Jezebel coming after him, then he heard God's voice. Using what you got. We all have some ears, don't we? We all have 2 ears. We all have 2 ears to listen. We can hear God's voice. So, couldn't see him, but he heard. He knew Jesus was coming. And when he heard, he cried out, didn't he? I can just see him with this old cloak on. This is all I could find. I don't even know really what a cloak is. I can see blind Bartimaeus. He's look like I'm ready for a Christmas play, don't I? One of the shepherds. We did use this. I can see blind Bartimaeus in the crowd. Jesus is walking by up there on the stage. Let's say that's the road. You guys are the crowd. Blind Bartimaeus is out there in the crowd, man. And he's back here and he sees Jesus coming by. Everybody's fighting. He's going, Jesus, have mercy on me. And what is everybody doing around him? Shh, be quiet. You shut up. He doesn't want to hear you. He doesn't want to see you. You're blind. You're nobody. And blind Bartimaeus, when they said that, what did he do? He got louder. Jesus, have mercy on me. Have mercy on me. I can just see him just causing all kinds of drama. as they would say in the youth. Stop being so extra. That's what they say. Nowadays, they'd look at blind Bartimaeus and say, quit being extra. You're being so extra right now. Jesus ain't going to listen to you. He ain't going to see you. You're blind. You're back here in this crowd. Why in the world would Jesus notice you? And what happened? Jesus looked over and he said, who's that over there making all those noises? All those people. And by the way, man, whenever you're trying to get something from God, I'm going to take this off in a minute. Y'all don't let it distract you. When you're trying to get something from God, how many times do people try to shush you? Haters are going to hate, aren't they? In the words of old Taylor Swift, Tay Swizzy. Haters going to hate, hate, hate. They are. They are. Haters are going to hate. Those ones that are sitting back, not participating, not trying to get anything from God, they're going to want to bring you down. They don't want to see you get your miracle. They don't want to see you get your deliverance because misery loves company. I can't tell you how many times, man, I'm talking to somebody and praying for something and wanting to break through, and they're like, man, that ain't going to happen to you. Come on, man, it just don't work that way. Man, get behind me, Satan. Don't hate. And that's what they were doing. People are going to try to bring you down. They're going to try to talk you out of your miracle. If he'd have listened to them and just stepped back in the back and not went on forward, not yelled louder, he would have never got it. Don't listen to people. If you know God has something planned for you, you go get it. Don't worry about the other people. Those people, God will take care of them. I'm telling you right now, I've had some haters. I've had some haters. We all have, though. We all have. They'll try to discourage you, and they will try to silence you. But I'm telling you right now, you use what you have. And blind Bartimaeus, he used his ears that day, and then he used his voice. Lord, have mercy on me. He got his attention. I believe he is rattling that bucket with money in it. Can y'all hear that? If I did that for a long time, would it get annoying? I've heard enough noises like that this week, y'all. I ain't kidding. I ain't kidding at all. Jesus looked at him and he said, who is that over there? Tell him, call him and bring him to me. You know what's awesome about that? He used the same people that was shushing him to bring him over to him. He used those same people that was telling him, be quiet. You shut up. Nobody's listening to you. Oh, yeah, bring him over to me. Bring him over to me. And they did. They said, oh, get up, get up. Now they changed their tune all of a sudden. Yo, get up. Come on. We're going to help you out now. Now we want to help you. Jesus told us to. And they brought him up. They brought him to him. And God says, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make your enemies your footstools. You can step over them. You can step over them whenever they try to hate on you, whenever they try to beat you down, whenever they try to tell you you're no good and that you can't accomplish that. And they brought him out there to him, and he had a decision to make right then, didn't he? Blind Bartimaeus, now he got Jesus' attention. Do I need to take this off? Is it distracting y'all? I'm burning up in it. I got to put it back on here in a minute, though. This guy was like, yeah, man, take it off. It's got to go. So now he had a decision to make. He's blind. He's been in the background his whole life. Now he's face to face with a decision that Jesus has said, come. I hear you. Now come. Now's your opportunity. So he had to get up. He had a decision. He had to get up and go, which is totally out of his comfort zone. Or he could sit there and stay. And that was probably a big decision for him. As a blind man, he couldn't see his way out there. He had to get out of that comfort zone, that comfort of being on the sideline, that comfort of being back behind people and yelling. He was probably surprised. Man, it worked. I can't believe it. I got his attention. He was probably shocked. Jesus said, come on. He had to get up out of it. I'm going to tell you, God's going to get you out of your comfort zone. When you really want to move, when you really want to do something for God, he's going to get you out of your comfort zone. I've been youth pastor for 11 years. I'm comfortable with doing that. I can come in and run a youth service. I can run a youth camp. I'm comfortable. It's time for God to get you out of your comfort zone. As you mature in life, I'm not calling myself mature, y'all, don't get me wrong. But as you mature in life and you mature as a Christian, God is going to move you and get you out of that comfort zone. And it's not going to feel good at first. I'm telling you, change doesn't feel good. Change is sad. Change will hurt your heart sometimes. It'll make you even doubt that you're even doing the right thing. But there is a time when God is saying, get up off the side of the road, quit begging because you're not going to be a beggar anymore. The day has come when I'm passing by and you are going to have to come to me. And if you do, if you get out of that comfort zone, if you leave those things behind, things are going to be different for you. Things are going to change. So he had to make a decision. I'm talking about right now using what you have. Using whatever you have to get what you need from God, right? Using whatever. That day, he had a choice to make. And the blind beggar who had nothing, who was told to be quiet, was center stage that day. The man who had been cast out of the city, put off to the side, disregarded, was front and center that day. It was his moment to shine. So blind Bartimaeus, I got to put my cloak back on. Blind Bartimaeus, with his cloak and his bucket, what happened when Jesus said, come? What did he do? The Bible says he threw off that cloak, didn't he? I think he jumped up and threw this thing off. He said, cloak, I don't need you anymore. Thanks for keeping me warm on those cold days, those cold mornings, but I don't think I'm going to need you anymore. In his mind, he knew, I'm about to go get something different. My days of begging are over. My days of sitting on the side of this road and watching the parade go by is over. Thank you, cloak, but I don't need you anymore because I'm fixing to go get something that requires me to not need you. And so he jumps up, throws it off, and heads out there. He says, I can't see where I'm going. I have no idea. He didn't know if he was stepping on the road or dirt or where he was going. He had no idea. He just knew, I'm going to follow that voice. I'm following Jesus. He said, come out here. I'm going. I can't see you, God, but I know you're there. I've said so many prayers where I'm like, I can't feel you, God, but I know you're out there. I know you're somewhere. I just have to keep going. I have laid in my bed and cried streams of tears, filling my pillow as a young man, feeling so guilty for what I did the night before or what I did yesterday or what, just asking God, God, I know you're there. Please forgive me. I know you're out there. I can't see you, but I know you're there. Blind Bartimaeus is saying, I can't see you, but I know you're there. I heard your voice. You said to come. I'm going to use what works for me. I got 2 feet, I got ears, and I got a mouth. And I'm going to walk, and I'm going to take a step towards you. You're passing by. You're in the vicinity. I know where to go for help. And that's what he was doing. Why do we not do that? Why is it so hard today for us to not go? Why is it so hard when we're faced with our toughest struggles in life, with our hardest times? Why do we all of a sudden resort to, I'm not going to church? I'm having a bad day. I had a bad week. I'm not going to church. I can't get up, girl. It's just been too much. I ain't going to go mess with that drama at church. Those people looking at what I wear. My hair didn't get did this week. Why do we leave church out? Why in the world is that the first thing people cut out whenever they're tired? I don't know. Anybody tell me? Anybody got an answer? I didn't think so. It's hard. Man, it's hard because the devil jumps up on your shoulder and says, you don't need to go to that place. That's the first thing we give up. First thing we give up is that relation. I don't feel like praying. It's been a long week. I've been at camp. I got in bed at 4 o'clock every night. I'm not going to church Sunday morning. Sorry. That's the first thing we give up. That's the very first thing. And I never understood that. But Bartimaeus got out there. he went to Jesus, face to face with Jesus. That's when Jesus said, what do you want me to do for you? You're over here making all this noise. You got my attention. Now what do you want? He said, man, I want to be healed. I'm blind. I've been blind my whole life. I don't even know what green is when people say that's green. Jesus said, man, that's already been done. That's already been done. Your faith has made you whole. You're healed. So he used one more thing he had. He used one more tool that he had, and everybody can use. And that is his faith. When he went to the road that day, I believe with all of my heart that he knew he was going to get his healing. I do. I believe it. You guys can go ahead and come up and start getting ready. I believe with all of my heart that day when blind Bartimaeus heard that Jesus was coming, that Jesus was going to be there that day, he knew all he had to do was get face to face with Jesus. If I can just get there, I'll get my healing. He wasn't expecting Jesus to touch him. I don't think he was expecting Jesus to lay hands on him. I really don't. There's stories in the Bible where Jesus spit in the ground and put mud on a dude's face to heal him. I don't believe blind Bartimaeus was counting on that. He just said, I got to get to Jesus. Whatever it is I have to do today, I've got to get to Jesus because he's passing by. He's coming by. He's near. And I know where he is. And I know where my healing is. And I know what to do. I got to use what I got to get there. I've got to hear him. I can't see him. But I know I've got to get there no matter what. You've got to get there no matter what it is. I don't know what you're going through. If it's depression, if it's addiction, whatever the situation is, you've got to get out of your comfort zone, stop doing what's normal, and go to where Jesus is. And you know where he is. You know where he is. And I know it's easy to say and a lot harder to do. And it goes for everybody. It goes for the youth all the way up. Because we all face things. We all go through life. Life happens to all of us. We all have our struggles. I've known people that have went through just the most horrible things in life. And they're still here. And they're still standing. And they're still counting on God. Man, Rick, you guys are still here. You are still standing. God still loves you guys. You're still, you fought through it. You stayed with it. Stephanie, you guys stayed with it. Y'all fought through it. All of you. We all have a story. We all have something that God has brought us out of. But we had to go to him. We had to count on him. We had to say, God, this is the time when I need you. You got to be near. I got to reach out and I have to grab a hold of you. Like Jacob did that day with that angel. He said, I'm going to grab a hold of you and I'm not going to let go until I get my blessing. I don't care what it takes. I'm hanging on for dear life. Hanging on. I'm going to get it. I'm fighting for it. I think blind Bartimaeus would have beat somebody with his can to get to Jesus that day. I believe it. Then he had one last decision to make. He had one last decision to make. At the end of the story, in verse 52, Jesus said, your faith has made you well. Go your way. You're done. You're free to go. Can you imagine how he felt when he could see all of a sudden? Man, I bet he wanted to run around and start seeing everything he heard people talk about. Oh, that's what seeing looks like. He was probably so excited. Finally got to see. I couldn't imagine being blind and all of a sudden getting to see life in color. Jesus said, go your way. You're good, man. Your faith has made you well. And immediately he recovered his sight. And the last part of it, sometimes we don't get this very last part. He said he received his sight and he followed him. on his way. Jesus, blind Bartimaeus could have went back to the side of the road. He could have went back home. He could have ran around the town looking at everything, seeing everything, so excited. You know what he seen that day? He seen Jesus. I heard about Jesus. I know what Jesus has done. But man, today I can see him. Today, for the first time, I can see the one that can change everything. I can see the one that just gave me my healing. I can see the one, finally, I can see the light. If I could sing, I'd say, I saw the light, Lord, I saw the light. Sing it. Go ahead. No, I'm just kidding. He's seen for the first time, he's seen Jesus, and he didn't care about what colors were out there. He didn't care what people looked like. He didn't go run off to see his mom or dad or best friend. He said, I'm following you. Where you go, I'm going. I want to be with you. I want to be with that guy. That's the last we heard about blind Bartimaeus. We don't know what happened. I have no idea. I think he followed Jesus around for a few days. And just, what you used to say, Uncle Wayne, get in underneath the spout where the glory's coming out. I believe that's what he did. I believe he just basked in the presence of God. I think he just stayed in that presence. I got my healing, but I want more. We watched these kids this week. I'm telling you, they would have stayed in the altars until midnight. They would have. Y'all, it was amazing. We're going to show a video. We got at the end of the month at our Come Together service. It's going to kind of be our camp. We're going to show a video about it so you guys can see what all went on. But these kids would get in the altars, and they would stay there. They would get in the altars the first song. 7, 8-year-old kids bawling, crying out to God, bringing their problems to the Lord. I don't know what they were praying for. Some of them might have just been crying because others were crying, but their hearts were open to it. But they were there. Then the teenagers come in, and you could just feel it. One night the Holy Spirit swept through that place. You could feel the change. It was like the day of Pentecost when the wind swept through. I could feel it. I had some people tell me, man, I've never felt that before. It was the Holy Spirit. And you could tell these kids were going through some things. You could feel it on them. You could feel the heaviness when we were praying for them. You could feel the battles that they're fighting. Everything changed when Jesus walked into the room. Everything changed. They wanted to stay in that presence. I did too. It was hard to dismiss it. Every night I was like, I don't know when to let this thing go, man. We got to move on. But they wanted to stay in it, and that's what happens when you really get a hold of God. When you really have that moment with God. If you haven't had it yet, I encourage you to pray for it. Get alone with God. Go shut the door somewhere and get in prayer, and you stay there until you get a hold of God. But when you do, you won't want to leave that presence. You won't want to get out of it. You'll want to stay with it forever. One of the kids came up to me after the service one night, and he goes, man, I feel so clean. I feel so clean. This was a 14-year-old boy come up to me and said, man, I feel clean. And I said, that's what it feels like when you've been in the presence of God, because he washes everything away. Your sins are gone. You're a new person. You're clean. You are clean. Makes me feel great. You want to hug everybody, don't you? Whoever it is, I love you. Because that's how heaven's going to be. I told the little kids, I said, this is how heaven's going to be. That goodness, that presence of God, that feeling. And when you finally encounter that, when you finally push through, when you finally get off the side of the road and move forward and get a hold of God and get face to face with Jesus, and you get that healing and you get that thing, whatever you're looking for, you won't want to leave it. You'll want to follow him. And I encourage you to. That's what this message is about. Use what you have to get there. We all have different tools. We all have to take a different path, but you use it, whatever it is. Whatever it is.